Hello and welcome back to another very important term, Anglicization. We're going to be talking about how this relates to APUSH period 2. Your definition is the process by which a place or person becomes influenced by English culture. So the best way for me to describe this to you, I think, is just by giving you some examples. So if we look at architecture here, you can see that this is Massachusetts Hall in Harvard at Harvard College in 1718, and this style of building is actually imitated from a style found in London. And it wasn't just this building, but it would have been found on other houses, churches, public buildings. Here's another example. Benjamin West was a famous American artist who actually was trained in England. And probably the most prolific example of this is going to be the writers of the time. And so here are three very famous writers and figures who wrote primarily about politics and religion. And those ideas were either found in Europe and then spread through the colonies, or they themselves were born in Europe and migrated to the colonies. But writing is going to be the most significant example of how Anglicization took place. So, what happens is these ideas have to be distributed to people. And so, newspapers will be the most common way that this occurs. Weekly publications, political essays, critiques of government, that type of thing were often found in these newspapers. Pamphlets also became very prevalent. You can think about Thomas Paine's Common Sense and the significant influence of that. Taverns would have been a major location for people to discuss some of these new theories and ideas. Also, there was a postal system and emerging cities and towns as the colonies grew into the late 1700s and early 1800s. So here's an excerpt from Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. We're not going to read the whole thing, but really just this very first part. In 1739, arrived among us from Ireland. So this is talking about George Whitefield, who was a great Enlightenment preacher, a great awakening preacher, who was extremely influential in the colonies, and he came from Ireland. So, what's the significance? It's really emphasizing this process by which the colonies had grown from being extremely diverse to predominantly more British. And it focuses on the ideas that they had shared values and culture. And those shared values and culture enabled unity when they decided to rebel against the British government. It's kind of in opposition to the idea that the American colonies were growing more and more American prior to the revolution. It's actually kind of the opposite, saying they were growing more and more British. And because of that, they became more united and then were able to launch this rebellion more effectively. Now, what it fails to recognize is the impact on enslaved Africans and American Indians. Not only the impact on, but the impact of, and how their influences also created a uniquely American identity. Uniquely American, because the American Indians obviously had a culture prior to the Europeans coming over. So, in the context of APUSH period 2, what you really should focus on is that this provides the context of the British Atlantic world. So it's focusing on kind of more of the white population living here, but it's showing that they were diverse and complex while at the same time being connected and increasingly alike. And so kind of looking at how those two things can be true at the same time is going to help you really understand what Anglicization was. For more on this, you can check out my larger video, which is 2.7 Colonial Society and Culture. If this was helpful for you, please like and subscribe.